everybody. Good morning, fellow patriots. Welcome to the Awakened Patriot. I'm Mandy. It's Monday morning. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Father's Day, celebrating the dads in our lives, celebrating the dads. They got to have a day too, right? You know, feed them, buy them underwear, whatever, just love them. Make a day about them. Mine went golfing. That's what mine did all day, just golf. So today's show is going to be, I titled it, What the Heck is Nesara? I still am kind of, I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about it. So we have Shepherd of the Forest, Miss Tracy, who is reading books on what the heck this is, and maybe she will be able to fill us in a little bit on some information about what it is. So I'm going to bring her on and introduce her, and we're going to see. We got 4 people in the chat right now. I'm not seeing any chat, so good morning, Shepherd of the Forest.
Good morning, Mandy. How are you this morning?
I'm wonderful. You're such a peach. Thank you so much. We were on there for about 15 minutes catching up and getting to know each other a little bit and talking to each other. And I so appreciate Filio Beta 34. It's got a ton of questions to go along with this system.
Well, I have some information. I'm definitely not an expert, but I've got a book.
And that's further than I've gotten. That's further than I've gotten. Yeah. Good morning, Filio Beta 34. It's got a ton of questions to go along with this system. Yeah, I hear so many different things. I hear so many different things about what it is. Like it's just going to be just money galore, and everybody's going to be millionaires, and then and I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of it.
I hope so. I hope we're all going to be zillionaires. Wouldn't that be nice?
I would just like my house paid off.
That would be nice.
I don't gotta be a millionaire. I just if I didn't have the house payment anymore, I would be the happiest girl in the land. Yeah, Philo Beto says, I've read a lot about it, but it's confusing.
Very.
Is it confusing to you as well?
Yes, it's very confusing.
See, and I don't know, that kind of bothers me. It's like, what the hell are we walking into?
Well, first of all, do you know what Nesara means?
I do not. That's
Okay, so let's start there. Nesara is an acronym, and it stands for National Economic Security and Reformation Act. So when you see ACT at the name of it, at the end of the acronym, usually to me it means it's a law. So it is a law.
So it's Nesara Act?
No, the last letter of the acronym is A, which is ACT.
Okay, so it's a National Economic
Security and Reformation Act. And in 1978, I'm going to go back to way before the act actually came into effect. But in 1978, a rancher in Colorado purchased a farm with a loan from the federal bank, land bank. And then he died, and his son was named the beneficiary of his ranch in his will. But little did he know that the father had signed a stipulation in the contract that the property would go back to the bank at the time of his death. So at that time, the son, who was military, he was a general, he filed a lawsuit in the federal court in in Colorado, and it was dismissed because it was filed incorrectly. So there you go. It
Of
just
course.
starts right there, right?
Right. Of course.
Then in 1982, the same son, his name is Roy Swashinger. He was given a contract by the U.S. Senate and later the Supreme Court to investigate banking, I'll say the F word, irregularities.
Okay.
And then in the late 80s, let's see, it didn't go very far. So he filed an appeal in 87. And as it turns out, let's see, he also just happened to be in Fort Collins at a restaurant. And he was sitting at a table, and there was a couple next to him where he overheard their lawyer saying that he wasn't going to represent them anymore. And so he popped into their conversation, and they got help from him to file an appeal with their bankruptcy. It was a bankruptcy case in Colorado. So on December 3rd of 88, the federal court system ruled that the banks had indeed F'd word the couple that he had seen in the restaurant. That was the Baskervilles, and they proceeded to reverse their bankruptcy proceedings. And what happened was that they filed a class action lawsuit because there were eventually 23 other farmers and ranchers and Indians all swindled by the bank in the same way, and they were being foreclosed on. So some of the things they were being foreclosed on was charging exorbitant interest, illegal foreclosures, or not buying credit mortgage payments to their account, or applying mortgage payments to their account, and they would steal the mortgage payments for themselves, and that would trigger the foreclosure. So this kept going on and on, back and forth, and then according to the Federal Land Bank charter, that this was the bank that had foreclosed, they are not allowed to make loans directly to applicants. So when banks originally are set up, they have a charter, and there's these regulations that they're supposed to follow. And that, according to their 1933 charter, they're not allowed to make loans directly to applicants. They could only back loans as a guarantee in case of default. So they were loaning the money to this farmer directly, and the Federal Land Bank, in their charter, they weren't allowed to do that. So the word of the lawsuit began to spread, and that was in the 80s. And if you'll remember, Willie Nelson had his Farm Aid concerts. And so I'm just going to read this little excerpt from Willie Nelson. This whole thing started when agricultural collapsed. The housing thing came second. Gee, I've been in Farm Aid a long time, and I've been seeing farmers leave the farm. There were 8 million family farms, and now there's less than 2 million, losing 300 to 500 a week. The reason they're going is because they're going out and taking the land back, and now they're taking the houses back that they stole. I mean, they told the farmers to plant these fence post to fence post. We'll take care of you, buddy. We'll loaned him the money, more than he could pay back. And then he winds up losing his farm. The same thing happened to the house owners, loaned more money than that he could pay back, and the next thing you know, the government got all the land and all the money, and gave us assholes $6 or $7 more billion. We just gave them $6 or $7 more billion. So the Baskerville case was about a house, and the first case was about a farm. So altogether, it had become the Farmers Claims class action lawsuit. And according to the National Banking Act, all banks are required to register their charter with the Federal and State Bureau of Records, but none of the banks had complied, allowing the legal team to sue the Farmer Credit System.
Wow.
So then, in the 1990s, it was thrown out of court at each level, of course.
Of course it was.
And then they did finally get a settlement, I believe, of $20 million per person that was included in the class action. But there was a gag order. I'm trying to find the spot where I marked it.
There was a gag order. Don't talk about this.
Yes.
Don't tell anybody what happened.
Do not talk about this. So, let's see. Let me just go to this part. According to the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, all present and succeeding debt against the U.S. Treasury must be assumed by the Federal Reserve. The farmers' legal team was able to use the executive order not only to force the Federal Reserve to pay the damages in gold-backed currency, but to allow them to receive legal ownership over the bankruptcy of the United States, Inc. And to collect the damages, the farmers' legal team used an obscure attachment to the 14th Amendment. See, it gets so confusing, right?
They're good at doing things, wording it just right, so it sounds good or whatever, and you're like, I don't even know what the hell that means.
Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit. This goes back to the Organic Act. Everybody talks about this. The Organic Act of 1871 and the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1933, which defines all citizens as enemy combatants under the federal system known as the United States.
Say that again?
Sorry. This goes back to the Organic Act of 1871 and the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1933, which defines all citizens as enemy combatants under the federal system known as the United States. And that's in caps because it's a corporation.
What in the actual, wow.
So President Ulysses S. Grant had this attachment sealed from public eyes, but somehow someone on the farmers' legal team got a hold of it. If you listen to that carefully, it specifies damages by a foreign government. That foreign government is the corporate federal government, which has been masquerading to the public as the constitutional government.
Wow.
So
that's crazy. Okay.
Okay.
Good morning, Don Miller. Good morning. We are talking about Nesara. What is Nesara? And our wonderful shepherd of the forest, Tracy, is here, and she's read a book, and she's kind of breaking it down for us so that we can. We're slowly working our way in from the beginning of this information. So that's where your social security numbers come into play that own you. Yeah, I've kind of read that, deplorable chicken hen. I read that. Yes, and your corporation name
Okay, so
is in all
here's
caps.
the part where so
Continue.
the legal team, they finally settled on a figure with the federal government that each individual would receive an average of $20 million. And there were a total of 336,000 claims, and they were filed against the U.S. government. And the total payout came to $6.6 trillion. Now listen to this. The U.S. Supreme Court placed a gag order on the case and struck all information from the Federal Registry and placed all the records in the Supreme Court files up to that point. Senator Sam Nunn kept the Baskerville court case within his office. The settlement was agreed out of court, and the decision was sealed by Attorney General Janet Reno.
I never liked her.
Well, you're going to
Never
have to
did.
hear this. I was surprised to see.
Good morning, Tim Johnson.
He was a good one, surprisingly. This is crazy. In 1991, the General Roy, the son of the farmer, his name was, I can never say it correctly, Swashinger, went back to the Senate committee to present evidence of the bank and the government's criminal activity. And he informed them how the corporation of the United States was tied to the establishment of the New World Order, which would bring about a fascist one world government ruled by international bankers. My mouth just, yeah.
Holy crap.
So in 1992, a task force was put together, and it consisted of 300 retired and 35 active military officers who strongly support constitutional law. And then it named some of them. And
Paula Ward, good afternoon. We're talking about Nesara. She's breaking it down for us. So,
and they uncovered this task force of 335 military. They uncovered the common practice of bribery and extortion committed by both senators and judges. And then every single member of Congress is impeachable for having abdicated their Article 1 responsibilities under the Constitution and serving as foot soldiers for the president and his vice president. The criminal activity was so rampant that only 2 out of 535 men were deemed honest, and more importantly, they carried out the first ever audit of the Federal Reserve. After reviewing their files, they found $800 trillion sitting in their accounts, which should have been applied to the national debt. And contrary to federal government propaganda, they also discovered the fact that nations owed money to the United States instead of the other way around. All right, so this is really interesting. These hidden trillions were then confiscated and placed into European bank accounts in order to generate the enormous funds needed to pay the farmer claims. Later, the money would become the basis for the prosperity programs. And despite these death blows, President George H.W. Bush, the old guy, and the Illuminati continued on their plan of global enslavement. When we are successful, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the United Nations founders. And that was a quote from George Bush Sr.
Wow.
So in 92, the military officers confronted the president, and he pretended to cooperate, and he secretly planned to bring about the New World Order anyway. He signed executive order, doesn't have the number. It was December 25th, 1992. That would have in effect closed all banks, giving Bush the executive or the excuse to declare martial law. And under the chaos of martial law, Bush intended to install a new constitution would have kept everyone that was in office at the time in the same position for 25 years. I don't know how he thought he was going to pull that off. But the military intervened, and they stopped Bush from
Doing that?
signing that military order. Yeah. And
That's
then
insane.
Janet Reno went and trying to see where I got that. Janet Reno was the person that went and got a lot of the money back, or had it brought back. Then we go on to 1992, the first Clinton administration.
Yes,
The military delayed many of Clinton's federal appointments until they were sure that these federal individuals would help restore constitutional law. One such individual who promised to bring about the necessary changes was Attorney General Janet Reno. And what she said was, if Bill, I think this name is wrong, I don't recall it, but maybe someone else would know. If Bill and Hillary Clinton come and tell Webb Hubbell to tell me to do something wrong, I'm going to say, well, tell him I'm not going to do it. And that was a quote from Janet Reno.
Wow. Deplorable chicken head says, bastards, no other words. I'll never ever trust another politician I know that never did. Now I know why. So Janet, she didn't like Clinton, right?
No, she did not.
I was going to say, I was like in high school when all of this was going on. I was still in high school, so I was in high school life.
I was in Hawaii. I was in Hawaii, not
living the dream, living life.
Yeah.
And I do kind of remember that she didn't particularly like him.
This even gets better.
Okay.
About Janet Reno. So, in agreement with the Supreme Court ruling, on June 3rd, 1993, Janet Reno ordered the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to Switzerland, England, and Israel to recapture trillions of dollars of gold stolen by the Federal Reserve System from the strategic gold reserves. And they cooperated because they were promised their debts owed to the United States would be canceled.
Right.
I'm sure they weren't. Anyway, so now it's safely stockpiled at the North American Aerospace Defense Command complex in Colorado Springs and 4 other repositories. And her actions so enraged the powers that be that it resulted in her death. That's right. She was then replaced with a clone. I'm like, what? Yeah. And this creature who was responsible for covering up the various claim scandals. Yep. Now, I know.
What? It's so hard for me to wrap my brain around this clone crap that I'm just like.
Me too.
But what the hell? I don't even know what to think of all of it. But it sounds like this has been going on for a really long time, and they've been trying to fix it, and they've, ended the missionaries that are trying to make it happen. I think that's why I'm kind of in the space that I'm in right now, is they've been trying to expose this and protect us they've been trying to expose this for a long time, but people just keep getting killed off, and they're like, it ruins the plan. I think
That's right.
there's so much out now. Like, everybody's awake now. Like, not everybody, but there's so many people that are awake to all of it. There's so much information that's out there. Like, it's almost like word vomit. Like, we got to get that information out hard, fast, get people awake. People need to be talking about this. Like I said, you can't put it back in the box.
No.
So it's almost like a hopeful thing that we're going somewhere with this.
She wasn't the only one that says they cloned. They cloned the Secretary of Treasury, Robert Rubin, to keep him in line too.
That's so insane to me.
After that happened, it says that both of them were receiving their salaries from the International Monetary Fund as foreign agents and not from the U.S. Treasury. So
you have to pull over chicken. Says now what? That clone crap?
Around cloning. I don't get it.
Yeah. Philo Beta 34 says, then they did Waco and Ruby Ridge in Oklahoma. All the shit that we have seen. I'm thinking, Mr. Philo Beto 34, we've kind of watched some of the same stuff because, like any of those big events, people need to be looking at what was going on in the news right before that happened.
That's right.
Right before that happened.
Wait till you hear this next.
Oh, Jesus.
God. So in 1993, the farmer claims process, they just renamed it and called it bank claims. And then between 91 and 96, the Supreme Court required that the U.S. citizens file their bank claims. And so in order to do this, they had to do it before 96 because they closed the process. And during the time, they had justices monitoring the rulings. I mean, they really just wanted to keep this down, under wraps. They felt like they had to do it in order to keep other nations from knowing what was going on. And so to implement the required changes, 5 justices spent years negotiating on the reformations, on how they would reoccur. And eventually they settled on an agreement known as the Accords with the U.S. government, the Federal Reserve, the IMF, the World Bank, and numerous other countries, including the UK and countries of the Eurozone. Because these banking reformations would impact the entire world, the IMF, World Bank, and other countries had to be involved. The reformations required that the Federal Reserve be absorbed by the U.S. Treasury Department. I think that's happened last year. And the bank's irregular activities must be stopped and payment must be paid for past harm. So that was in what, 96? So, okay, so what happened was in 98, the military generals who originally participated in the farm claims process realized that the U.S. Supreme Court justices has no intentions of implementing those accords. So they decided that the only way to implement the reformation was to pass a law in Congress. So in 1999, a 75-page document known as the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, Nesara, was submitted to Congress, where it sat with little action for almost a year. Of course. Then,
Yeah.
sorry about the plane.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm reading things in the chat over here, and
Okay.
I'm trying to listen to you because it's
Okay,
good.
this is
So I'm not
late
trying to
one
ignore
evening.
people in the chat. I mean, everybody's got things to say. I mean, it's
Yes,
there's
I'm seeing some of them here.
yeah, people got things to say. Beto's like Freemason protect each other. I know
Oh yes, they sure do.
about Freemasons. My grandfather was a 32nd degree Freemason degenerate.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna have to have a talk there, Mr. Philo. I'm assuming you're Philo Beto 34. Okay, I'm writing all your information down. Okay, continue. I'm not trying to ignore anybody and your information on here, but I'm seriously wanting to be educated on all of this.
So, in late one evening in the dark of night on March 9th, 2000, a written quorum call was hand delivered to the 5 members of the U.S. Senate, and it was delivered by the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to 5 senators and the U.S. House who were sponsors and co-sponsors of Nesara. They immediately were escorted by the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to their respective voting chambers, where they passed the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. These 5 members of Congress were the only people who were lawfully allowed to hold office in accordance with the original 13th Amendment. And that's because they were not lawyers and they didn't work for the Crown. So anybody that's a lawyer works for the Crown, Esquire. Remember, British soldiers destroyed copies of the Titles of Nobility Amendment in the War of 1812 because it prevented anyone who has ties with the Crown of England from holding office. So Nesara is the most groundbreaking reformation to sweep not only this country, but our planet and its entire history. The act does away with the Federal Reserve Bank, the IRS, the shadow government, and much, much more. And then there's a whole list of things that goes through. But before I do that, I'm going to, a whole list of things that Nesara will affect in our lives. And I'll do that at the end. But because, now this is another one. I'm like, what? Because President Clinton's clone had no interest in signing Nesara into law, on October 10th, 2000, under the orders of U.S. military generals, the elite Navy SEALs and Delta Force stormed the White House and then, at gunpoint, forced Bill Clinton to sign Nesara into law. You've probably never heard of this law due to the extremely strict gag order placed upon politicians, media personnel, and bank officers. Even though Alex Jones or Ron Paul will not tell you about it, the law is still valid, and the members of Congress will not tell us any of this because they have been ordered by the Supreme Court justices to deny the existence of Nesara or face charges of treason punishable by death. Some members of Congress have been actually charged with obstruction of justice.
like now? Like we're talking about now,
well, from 2000, when Clinton was in office still.
Okay. No kidding.
But now it says this: you will never hear the media networks report about Nesara. To maintain silence, major news networks such as CNN are paid to the tune of $2 billion annually. Some of the loot is funneled by the Mormon Church in Utah through Senator Orrin Hatch's office and the Bank of America. Not only is Congress bribed, but the entire Joint Chiefs of Staff and the upper tier of the government, including the president himself, receive these payments as well. Only the provost marshal has the lawful authority to arrest these individuals, but sadly, he won't do his job either. It seems the U.S. military is full of pencil-pushing politicians who care more about their advancement than doing their jobs. And not surprisingly, much disinformation about Nesara is found, of course. So the law was signed into law, right? The clone or whoever, Bill Clinton, he signed it into law, but there was an extreme gag order. So the next step is to announce Nesara to the world, but it's not an easy task because they've been trying to implement or trying to stop the implementation of it.
So who was the first person that said this to us, the people? Like, who was the first person to say Nesara to all of us? Did it just sprout up?
It was after, yeah, it was, well, there's something in here about.
Like, to hit our ears, was it, somebody like
It was more recent.
Juan of Savin, or, did Trump actually say that at some point?
I had heard of it before.
I've never heard of it.
I would say in the
but
last
I wasn't
10
paying
years.
attention either.
Yeah, I don't know. In Wikipedia, you can, yeah, there's a lot of disinformation. So this says that there's prominent naysayers about it, and they are a CIA front. So Nesara.org, that one's maintained by the Bush family, or was.
Good morning, Miss Spring Roll. We're talking about Nesara. She's reading through kind of how it got started, how it's kind of worked through. We're gonna have to come up with a new name for the government. Like, we're gonna have to come up with a new term for them that suits them.
So now that it was enacted into law, it was supposed to be announced. The law of Nesara requires that at least once a year an effort is made to announce the law to the public. Well, see, this was written in 2016, I think. So 3 current Supreme Court judges control the committee in charge of Nesara's announcement. These judges have used their overall authority to seek to sabotage its announcement. Okay, are you ready for this?
Insane.
Buckle up, buttercups, because here comes the big one.
Oh, Jesus, we're not even to the good stuff yet? Holy Lord. Okay. Hence 9/11? Yes. This spring roll. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. 9/11. In 2001, after much negotiation, the Supreme Court ordered that all current Congress to pass resolutions approving Nesara. This took place on September 9th, 2001, 18 months after Nesara became law. So on September 10th, George Bush Sr. moved into the White House to steer his son on how to block the announcement. The next day, on September 11th, 2010, at 10 a.m., Alan Greenspan was scheduled to announce the new U.S. Treasury bank system, debt forgiveness for all U.S. citizens, and the abolishment of the IRS as the first part of the public announcement of Nesara. Just before the announcement at 10 p.m., Bush Sr. ordered the demolition of the World Trade Center. to stop the international banking computers on floors 1 and 2 of the North Tower from initiating the new U.S. Treasury Bank system. Explosives in the World Trade Center were planted by the CIA, the Mossad operatives, and detonated remotely in Building 7, which was demolished later that day in order to cover up their crime.
Isn't that just amazing when you start realizing what 9/11 really was about? Does it just make you sick?
It makes me sick.
It just makes me sick. I
And
watched
it makes me
all
even,
day.
it makes me so upset that I've read somewhere in one of these books that
Good
75,000
morning,
people,
Sherry.
75,000
I'm sorry.
people actually died, and they're just gone. They're not
Without a
recognized.
give a shit in the world from these people.
And I'm thinking,
We
where
hurt.
are their families? What happened to the 75,000 of families? Were they all paid off? I mean, I don't understand why none of these families, well, maybe they have come forward and we just don't know about it. Could be. But that's a lot of people, considering they
It's
said
just
only 3,000 died.
Injustices make me absolute like that. You want to see me get fired up? This kind of stuff just gets me just fired up. That I just can't. It's horrifying and it just pisses me off, and they have to be stopped.
Yep.
It just has to be stopped. Angry, exactly. This general says angry. Once people figure out the courts are fake, it's over for all Freemasons. And I get that the court system is fraudulent as shit. I get that. I think. Do you feel that way, Tracy? Do you feel that way? Like now you're starting to see like how corrupt it all is. I think we're all on the same page of seeing
my
like
goodness.
shit ain't adding up.
It's everywhere we turn, and it's so overwhelming because it's everywhere we turn. We have to take one agency at a time and blow it up.
All of it, yeah. All of it has to come down. I mean, it's just, and
So when
everybody gets so impatient with what's going on. Everybody's getting impatient, like we're waiting to see, like
I was
when's
just
this
gonna
all going to
say,
happen? And it's like there is so much crap that these people that are fighting for us. There's so much that they have to clean up and take care of. I just have faith and know that they're doing their God. I hope they are really doing what they're saying they're doing for all of us, for humanity, period.
Well, I'm going to read this next part, and I think I mean, everything I've heard recently is happening according to this book. So it says that it's been going on for years, and that the only alternative is to kill the Federal Reserve System by force. The problem that George Bush and now Obama have threatened to use the US dollars as a weapon of mass destruction against nations of the world to comply with the New World Order agenda. The people will now suffer greatly, Bush said. The world cannot tolerate this. The dollar must be removed as the international world currency and replaced with a new independent asset-based monetary unit backed by precious metals. And I think that's what's happening right now.
Right.
Russia,
like everything
back to gold.
Everything we've known and lived our lives through, and just like all of it's been corrupted. So it's gonna all have to be taken down and changed. Miss Paula, we're have faith. You say
so. This is
it's gonna be okay.
This is the next part where I think we're at right now. So this started in 2007. The U.S. Treasury Department went online with a new gold-backed banking system. But this gold banking system is not being deployed because the banks are trying to dispose of their worthless derivatives before they get set to zero when the new gold-backed currency valuations go into force. So I had to look up what a derivative is, number one. And apparently what it is, if I'm right, if I'm understanding it correctly, I get a mortgage with bank. They use my mortgage as an asset to invest in other things. And that's
Right.
a derivative. So they can't,
Right.
they're not supposed to be using my asset as their asset, which they don't own, to do other things with it, to invest in other things. So I don't know if you heard of Basel III or Basel III. That's
I haven't.
it's happening in Europe, and that every bank transaction must be disclosed on the balance sheet. Um, if this were to happen, these banks would become insolvent overnight. And that's why they haven't done it, because they're using our mortgages as their assets. And that's not their assets.
Sure. Right. It's ours.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you know
So,
the handshakes, you guys bought them. And yeah, I watched a big old thing, Mitch. I watched a big old thing on that, and it was sent to me by Robert Siegel. And like I said, I'm never gonna sleep again. Like they're talking about Freemasons and the information about Freemasons and how it works and their little handshakes and all this creepy stuff. And Robert Stiegel sent me this 5 hour long thing about this gentleman that was talking about all of it and kind of showing kind of it within the entertainment industry and all of that, how many people are connected to all of this. And I was just like, I'm never going to be able to watch a movie ever again. I'm never going to be able to like music ever again.
I
Like
watch
you just
movies now.
ruined my life.
I watch movies now to find out what comms are in them. What are they telling us this time?
Do you not watch shows and movies in a whole different way now?
Yeah.
I do too. I do too. I'm just like, there's so much hidden shit, and and is it really or is it not really? Like, are we just, do we think? But I do. I loved movies, I loved entertainment, and I loved all that. I mean, I'm an actress. I love it. And now I love you, Robert Stiegel, but you ruined it for me. You ruined it. Now I can never have entertainment ever again. I guess I'm gonna have to entertain myself because it just ruined it. It's like I'm never gonna sleep again. This is horrifying. Vermont prepper, this is why I can't sleep. Haven't since 2016. I sleep well because I let it go. At night, like when I got like everything that's important, I know exactly where it is. Everybody's safe, everybody's good. I have no control over anything else that's going on in the world. I
sleep
function
well
better.
because I take melatonin.
Yeah, I sleep well. I'm very, very blessed that I sleep well. And it's taken me a while to get to that place mentally in my world, but my mind doesn't race at night. When I go to bed, I know my husband, everybody's safe. I know everybody's where they need to be. Everything else can keep. I can't fix anything till the morning. So kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking, when your brain's racing, you can't do anything about it at the moment. So just rest assured, sleep well. Okay, continue, because what you're saying is just unbelievable.
The Bush family was originally offered $300 trillion to cooperate, but they chose not to. So in the end, the Bush family will end up with nothing, it says. Yeah, they sure did, didn't they? Okay.
So do you think that's what it was all tied into with? No, I don't know if that's all true. The letters that they received at the funeral.
The letters, yeah, I think those letters.
Do you think
were letting them know that he didn't die of natural causes, and that he told everybody what they needed to know.
They know
everything. What it was, yeah. So before Nesara is announced to the public, it was stipulated that the original farmer claims first be paid out, with a bullion-backed currency issued by the U.S. Treasury. In other words, they can't be paid by the Federal Reserve notes. So that's $6.6 trillion that they were to get in ATM debit cards. I don't understand that, but okay. It's been going on for years, and that's basically it. Now, what is the law, though?
Do you get
What
to
is
a
the
point?
law?
Do you get to a point when they say 3 trillion or 40 billion? Does it just like not even make any sense or give a shit anymore?
This doesn't make anything to me.
What's 3 trillion? Who gives like it's just a word at this point in my mind. Like it's just a word. Yeah, that's what it's gotten. Like, 10 years ago, you'd be like, $3 trillion? Oh my God, like, how much is that? That's like, I mean, you can't even count that on your hand. But now it's just like, throw these numbers around and it's just like, means it's just so, it's just a word.
It means nothing to me because how much money do you really need to be?
That's exactly right. It's like, how much do you need? I mean, seriously. That's why I said, if all this kicks up, I mean, if you paid off my house, I would be a happy girl, and I could go to work and spend my money on whatever the hell I want, and I don't have to pay all those bills. I would be happy.
Yep.
I would be a happy kid. I don't need a lot. Stay the hell out of my business. Stop taxing me to death, and let us be happy and free.
Yep.
And we haven't been for a long time, and we kind of didn't notice it, and I think it's important that we're paying attention now. I mean, it's insane. It's insanity that this has all been going on. Philo Beto 34, we're going to have to have you on to talk about all this Freemason stuff.
Freemason, yeah. I'm in the middle of reading.
He's got some interesting stuff.
The Illuminati families right now, and they're all Freemasons. If a Freemason is a front to for Satanists.
Oh, absolutely.
The
absolutely.
33rd degree is the degree where they actually sacrifice children. So up until then, they probably did other things. I just read this yesterday. They probably had done other diabolical things, but not sacrificed a child until then.
It's to wrap my mind around it.
I can't. That's why it's so easy for me to talk about it. I can't really wrap my mind around it. It's like a movie.
I have a nephew, and he's a baby. He's only 5 months old, and he's just the cutest damn thing ever. And it's just, I just love babies and children. And I actually was sitting there watching him just being as cute as he could be. And I actually had that thought in my mind of what those people do, and looking at him and going, I'm going to cry. How can a human being harm something like that? I don't want them on this planet if that's what they do. It's horrifying to me. Sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional.
I can't imagine.
I was just watching him and just going, how can you do it? They're sick, twisted people, and they need to not be here anymore.
And,
in my opinion,
all of this stuff, everything that we've been going through, all comes back down to that.
Yep.
That's the big secret that we are not to be aware of. They're all Satanists, and
horrifying.
The satanic ritual abuse is the reason. And it's the one thing no one wants to believe. No one wants to believe that could possibly be going on in our society today, but it is.
Exactly. Like, I can see why people just like, and I don't want to hear about it because it's so heavy. When I first opened up to all of that, my brother told me, you need to watch Fall Cabal. And so I watched it, and I told him, I watched about 2 hours of it, and I told him, I said, there damn better be some at the end of this, or I'm never going to sleep again. Like, please tell me there is hope at the end of this, or I will carry that forever. And he was like, there's hope at the end of it. And so anybody who's watched it, at least there was some sort of hope to let me breathe. But I still hang on to that shit, and I watched that a year and a half ago. I still I feel it on me. It's just horrifying.
There's that,
Disgusting.
and then there's the drug addicts. Those drugs, the drug, the drug addict. It's not because of a sexual pleasure they get out of it, but about the power they get out of it.
The high, yep.
And then the fountain of youth is the power that they get out of it.
Yes. It's like, oh, that shit's real. Holy crap. What the hell? God, I haven't been able to open it, discovered. Eye of the cover. Burn it.
Yeah, Beto 34, Philo, you need to come on.
Yeah, Philo Beta. Yeah, I'm like, we might have to have you on the show and have a discussion. We might have to have Philo, and we might have to have Robert.
Yeah.
Philo's real name is Mitch, and so we might need Mitch and Robert. And have you guys on and just let you guys just go to town with all this information. Yeah, because it's out there. And sometimes I have days where it's like, God, would it have just been better to just be ignorant? I don't want to know all of this information. I don't want to know all of this.
But the three biggest industries in the world. Number 3, I think, is the gun running, and number 2 is the drug.
Yep.
Fentanyl and all that stuff. And
now it's
one is human and child sex trafficking.
Yep.
And that's because they can. The reason why it's number 1, as far as money making,
right?
Is because they can use the same person over and over and over, and resell and resell and use their blood for their drug and all this stuff. It's millions of people in our country under our feet. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and I think I think God is I think that's why it's all coming out, is so God can say, you're just blindly going through your life and not paying attention to what is really going on. Now that we're aware of it, do you think about that? If I walk through the city and stuff like that, I'm like, what the hell's underneath?
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's under? Like, I pay attention to everything. Like, I watch people and I'm like, that's not necessarily the funnest way to live your life. You're just literally on guard and who the hell do you trust?
Right. I was thinking back just yesterday about going to the Bahamas with my daughter and going on a cruise ship. And she was only 13. And it was just her and I for her 13th birthday.
Right.
And I let her go with her friends on the cruise ship. And I'm thinking, oh my, could have been very dangerous. And I thought I was being a, very supportive but cautious mom.
Right. It's insane.
Thank God nothing happened.
Yeah, Robert says don't forget religion.
Those ships go to the private islands where they take them. And
of course they do. And you gotta love your kids. I mean, they want to be independent and free, and then you don't want to put all this heavy shit on them. I mean, you don't, but it's just like, yeah, but you just, the way the world is right now, I just can't. For my kid. I mean, I only have one, so. But for my kid, I worry about that kind of stuff. And everybody's talking about traveling and we got to go do this. And I'm like, let's give it a couple years. Let's give it a couple years. Because I think shit's getting ready to hit the fan. And I don't think I want to be right in the middle of it, unless need be. Yeah, it's
in order to get this good part of Nesara to us, we have to go through this bad part. I don't think we deserve all this stuff until we fix the bad part. This is really good stuff.
I completely agree.
It will help us to help others. And that's what I want to do with whatever I get. Because I see so much that we could do. I certainly don't need, whatever amount it is. You can only do so much in one day. I'd rather do something to help somebody.
Exactly.
Makes me feel
It just
better.
is.
Makes me feel good.
With every year on 9/11, they do all the memorials, they do all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's such a hurtful thing, especially knowing what we know now.
Mm-hmm.
And my son, he wasn't alive at that time, and he's like, why do you guys watch that every year? And I said, it is our duty
Mm-hmm.
to go through this again for the sake of the people that lost their lives and their families that go through this suffering every frickin' year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I have to endure it again with them. I do. That's how me and my husband feel about it. And so every year we watch all the documentaries and we allow ourselves to feel it again, because the people, their loved ones, they don't ever get to lose that feeling. They get that every single day. And to know what it is now.
It hurts me. It hurts my soul. It hurts
every time.
Everything about me to
It
know
hurts
that
me
the
every
Bushes
time.
were behind it.
That is even harder.
It just.
Yeah. That's why we do what we do, right? That's why we get on and do what we're doing and talking and getting truths out. It needs to stop. It needs to absolutely stop.
Mm-hmm. So you guys want to hear about the good stuff that's going to happen?
Yes, we do. Let me just get through the post here really quick. So
Okay.
Phila says Facebook is like a menu for Freemasons to see pictures of children to kidnap. I completely agree, Philo, and there may be 2 pictures of my son have ever been posted on Facebook that I've ever posted myself, because I have always thought that is like, nope, I'm not advertising my kid, not doing it. And all these people with their little girls and their little swimsuits and stuff, I'm like, you stupid asses, you don't even know what the hell you're doing right now, and who the hell can see that? You freaking idiots. And like, that's so cute. Look, we had a barbecue. Look at my beautiful little baby girl, half naked. And you're like, yeah, no, I think I posted maybe 2 pictures of my kid.
I saw something. It was a really high percentage of people, like in the 50s, that are started at Facebook, those kidnappings.
Oh, sure. Everybody's posting all their shit. We know where to find you. We know where you work. We know what kind of car you drive. We know exactly what your house looks like, because we're posting.
We know when you're going on vacation.
Exactly. We know when you're not home. We know that your children are home for the first time without their parents. It's like, you people are freaking idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Made it easy, Gerald Clark.
I'm an idiot because I was on Facebook and I did not delete it because of that. I deleted it because I was selling stuff on Poshmark, and I was like, it was connected, and because of my opinions, all of a sudden I didn't have any sales for 3 weeks. 3 weeks in a row.
Right.
When I deleted my account and got out of Facebook, about a week after that, I had 20 sales in one day.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't trust it at all. And I don't mean to bust anybody's balls who post pictures of their kids. Stop doing it.
Just be careful.
Please just stop doing it on Facebook. Like, just those entities, there is an evil undertone underneath that. Please stop doing what you're doing. Because really, I mean, like, nobody really cares that you're going on vacation. Like, don't brag about everything you're doing. Pay attention to what's going on. I don't mean to bust anybody's balls, but it's just stop doing it.
It's not the old days. We don't care about any of that anymore.
Right. The people announce where they currently are. Exactly, Tim. They do. It's just like, yes, delete Facebook. They got rid of me and I was like, I am never going back. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm not busted up about it.
I've been gone over a year and I don't miss it.
I don't either. I have not missed it at all. And
but I would miss you guys if I wasn't here.
Yeah, and now we're on ScrewTube, so we'll watch how that goes and see if we get a whole new platform where we can not have to censor every second and watch our tongues. Okay, let's get to the good Nesara part. We already depressed everybody. We got everybody depressed, so let's go to the good part of Nesara.
So once it's announced, The following changes will be implemented. It will zero out all credit card, mortgage, and other bank debt due to illegal banking and investment activities. This is the Federal Reserve's worst nightmare. It is a jubilee for debt forgiveness. Number 2 is it abolishes the income tax. Number 3, it abolishes the IRS, and the employees that work there, they're going to go to the U.S. Treasury. It just says U.S. Treasury National Sales Tax Area, and that's because we're going to have a 14% flat tax on non-essential new items, and that would be the sales tax revenue for the government. And in other words, it says federal food and medicine won't be taxed, and neither will used items. So if you bought a used car or bought a house that's already been occupied, that would not be taxed. It increases benefits for senior citizens. Yay, I hope I'm in there. And I used to worry about becoming a senior citizen, but now, you know, when I think it was 55.
There's some perks to it. There's some perks to it.
You get some discounts. Okay. It returns constitutional law to all courts and legal matters. And it reinstates the original title of nobility amendment. Hundreds of thousands of Americans under the control of foreign powers will lose their citizenship, be deported to other countries, and barred from re-entry for the remainder of their life. And millions of people will discover that their college degrees are now worthless paper. Now, I don't understand what that means.
It kind of is anyways. I think it kind of is anyways. It's like you can't get a job because they just told 20,000 other kids to go for the same damn job. There ain't enough jobs for you.
Right.
So these kids get out and they're depressed and they don't know where the hell to go and what the hell am I doing? I'm working at McDonald's and I just spent 4 years in college and I'm so far in debt I'm never going to be able to get out of it.
Right. I have $200,000 in debt. I'm supposed to pay that back? Yeah.
Yeah. And I can get a job at, you know, Wendy's.
Good thing they raised that rate to $15 an hour.
Right. Because, you know, you're going to pay off $200,000 in debt with a whole bunch of frickin' interest and shit on it with that kind of money. You know what
I think is funny? They want to raise the minimum to $15 an hour. Okay, do they realize that they're just going to put kiosks in and they're going to have less employees?
They're going to push for that kind of stuff. Yeah. People who have businesses are going to be like, I can't afford this, so might as well just, it's cheaper to just buy a kiosk and you can come in and get your coffee and it'll just pull for you. We don't have to talk to anybody.
Right.
Yeah, ring up your own groceries at Walmart. Because, you know, we have 27 checker stands, but we're only going to open 2.
Right.
And make you go.
Because we got to pay them $15 an hour now instead of 10 or whatever it is.
I don't go to Walmart very often, but when I do, I watch it and I'm like, look at all these elderly people. They're going to have to stand here for 2 hours for the 2 checkers to take care of them. They don't want to go frickin' ring up their own damn groceries.
Right.
We ain't getting paid to be here. Do I get a big discount for doing it? Give me at least 30% off for having to bag and ring up my own groceries. What about the elderly people that are standing here for an hour waiting to get checked out because you've given them no choice? They have to go do it because you only have 2 checkers and you've got 900 people in your store. Yeah, I get a little vocal about that kind of shit. It just pisses me off.
I'd love to go to a Walmart with you and we could both just tell
start telling people what the hell. I've said it out loud. I'm like, what about these poor people that are sitting here with the damn, I mean, come on. They're elderly people. They don't want to have to go over there and ring that shit up and bag their own stuff. Like, where's your decency? I mean, there's what, 20, 30 freaking checkout stands and they only open 2? So you have no choice. You have to go do it. This spring roll Walmart is disgusting. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I don't go there.
Jersey Girl says, do you know anything about health or car insurance? Those 2 are big scams. Anything insurance, Jersey Girl, is a scam. You paying it. you ever
With
need to make a
the
claim, they're like, oh yeah, we're not paying you. You've only paid us thousands and thousands of dollars over your lifetime. You never filed a claim. But if you do file a claim, one, you're screwed and your premiums are going to frickin' go up and you're going to pay 10 times more. And then we're going to fight and make you so miserable trying to even get the benefits that you've paid for over the years. It's all a scam. All of it's a scam. Anything you
can
pay
you
money
read
into.
the search up for truth comment?
Nesara will lead to communism. If anyone gets all that money you claim, inflation will take off at a rate that will destroy the economy in less than 60 days.
So with that, I'm going to read on because
Okay,
I disagree.
there you go. The search for truth. There you go. Good segue. Go for it.
Establishes new presidential and congressional elections within 120 days after Nesara's announcement. There's that 120 days again. The interim government will cancel all national emergencies and will return us back to constitutional law. Number 9, monitors elections and prevents illegal election activity of special interest groups. Number 10, creates a new U.S. Treasury rainbow currency backed by gold, silver, and platinum precious metals, ending the bankruptcy of the United States, initiated by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1933. Forbids the sale of American birth certificates, records as chattel property bonds by the U.S. Department of Transportation. Initiates a new U.S. Treasury bank system in alignment with constitutional law, eliminates the Federal Reserve System. During the transition period, the Federal Reserve will be allowed to operate side by side of the U.S. Treasury for 1 year in order to remove all Federal Reserve notes from the money supply. Number 14, restores financial privacy. 15, retrains all judges and attorneys in constitutional law. 16, ceases all aggressive U.S. government military actions worldwide, establishes peace throughout the world. Releases, here's his point here, releases enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes, enables the release of over 6,000 patents from suppressed technologies that are being withheld from the public under the guise of national security, including free energy devices, anti-gravity, and sonic healing machines. And that is the end of what will happen. And what I want to say about that, the world changing to communism because of this. Not everybody is going to receive a boatload of money. If you have a birth certificate, like I'm old, so I'll get more money than my 30-year-old son. He'll get some because of his birth certificate, but he won't get as much as me. So it's all relative.
Because he hasn't put that much in?
Pardon me?
Like, because he hasn't contributed or
Because
put that as much as you have. And exactly. Yeah,
so
I don't think they're going to be like,
what
all
I
right.
mean is my birth certificate was sold, and so was my son's. But mine's over 60 years old, and his is only 30 years old. So the funds in his bond won't be as much as mine. But we're all supposed to receive a certain lump of some money every month or something. We need to show what we're doing with that money, is my understanding. We need to show that we are
Doing something good for others.
Yes, right. And the way we need to think of it is, I am free. I am completely free now. I can do what I want to do.
Right.
And what am I going to do now that I'm free? And the sky's the limit, because that's how much money we have.
Right.
So all those homeless people, they're not going to get all this money. People in urban, decrepit cities aren't going to get all this money. They need help, and we are the ones that are in a position that we can help them now, or we will be able to. That's the way I'm
Right,
looking at it. I'm praying
right,
that this is all true, and if it's not, well, then we're screwed. We're screwed because
right.
there's no
Yeah,
money in
I
a
don't see
U.S.
like
healthcare.
everybody's gonna get, millions of dollars. It's like, here you go, you're rich now. That would be the shit show. That would be what you were just talking about, like everything is going haywire.
Mm-hmm.
The most common everyday regular people, if they said you don't have to pay off your mortgage, I mean, this is my fourth home I've paid for. So, and we always pay our bills. I mean, I have never had a bill collector. I mean, I've always done exactly what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to do it. Got excellent, rates. We do what we're supposed to do and we take care of our shit.
Mm-hmm.
And, to say, hey, your house is yours. That would be the freest thing. And I would just be like, fantastic. What can we do
Yep.
now? Like, what can I do? Like,
Yep.
that's just
And
to
of
be able
course,
to.
there's going to be people that don't think like us. They want their
Oh,
millions.
of
They want to
course
go
not.
buy everything they can buy, right?
Well,
I
yeah,
know they
people
are.
that have been, without for so long.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people who usually win the lottery, they're broke in less than a year because they've just like, oh my God, I'm just gonna buy everything. Oh my God. And it's like, yeah, and then you get your ass handed to you, and then you're back where you started from.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we're
Maybe
going to have the services that we had before because I think we are going to become more self-sufficient in the United States,
wouldn't that be
manufacturing our
freaking
own
awesome?
goods and
And
all of that.
let's start teaching in the schools how to be
Yes,
appreciative and how to manage money.
that's part of it too. I believe that
Wouldn't that be brilliant to teach in our schools? Our kids, like, they don't have a clue.
nope.
They're like, oh, just get a credit card. That's not how it works. They have
Right.
zero clue of how the hell that stuff works or how to balance a checkbook or what
Mm-hmm.
interest rates are. Like, they have no idea. So they
Or
just
where
get
the
out in the
money
world and
comes
be like,
from. Where does the money come from that mom gets out of that ATM account? Where does that money come from? It's not given to me. You know,
yeah,
we have to earn our
exactly.
money.
Yeah, Robert Stiegel says, Mandy, you should receive any and all interest, taxes paid, etc. I would be cool with that. I would be cool with that. I'm not greedy. I don't need more than I deserve, And if I do get more than I deserve, let's share the wealth. I would like to build things in our community for the young people.
That's
They're
right.
so bored in this town, they just want to just jump off the bridge.
Or
It's
how about starting up a school where people can go to free and learn a trade or learn something that they've
whatever
always wanted to learn.
That's so crazy. I talked about this a few years ago that I was like, I would love to create a school that is completely based around kids' talents.
Mm-hmm.
To have people that are smart enough to see a kid and be like, oh, you are super artistic. Wow, whatever your talents are, and then just create a whole world for them to learn and embrace and expand on that knowledge. I think that would be the coolest freaking thing ever.
That's right. That's right. And
I
that's
think it would
what
be the coolest thing
I
ever.
think of when I think of getting all that money is what am I going to do to make it better for our world? It's not for me. My mother and my grandmother worked harder than I ever worked. And I would really like their money to help the world get better
Right. Right.
because they never had a chance of this happening in their life. So,
Joyful Diamond says, this is a beautiful time to discover what makes your heart sing and create your dreams.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be just cool? And wouldn't that be so cool to do with young people? How engaged they would be having to go to school and go,
Mm-hmm.
I get to go chase my dream. I get to keep expanding on what I love to do and what my talents are, and that, help them discover what their talents are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how cool is
Exactly.
that? Could you imagine going to school that way? I mean, are you kidding me? That would have been the coolest thing ever instead of the monotonous the shit that you never ever use. I mean, that's important and you're going to need it to learn how to do, read, write, and arithmetic. Let's
So
create these beautiful people.
I just want to read this last little paragraph or two. It
Right on,
says,
Philo. Right
you,
on, Mitch. My home was paid in full, built in 1926.
ooh, wow. I don't think I've ever had a house paid off in full. That'd be wonderful.
I've had a couple.
Um,
Okay, go ahead. She's going to give us the end of this here, and then we'll start winding down here. We've been here for a while. Very good conversation, and I thank you so much for being here and talking to us.
Sure, anytime. You've been prepared for this mission. Now is the time to get busy and make it happen. You are encouraged to ask for guidance, using your personal interests and skills to develop projects to bring all of mankind into the light. We've been told over and over that God is not going to do this for us. We need to do it.
Right.
There's not going to be a magical solution to all of the world's problems. We are the warriors of light and love, and now it's our time to get to work and think about it. How do you think we're going to make a difference? This is but one part of the overall plan. You will be instinctively know what to do at the right time. The collapse of the dark cabal is imminent. Imminent.
Thank God.
And your time to shine has come. And that's what's coming for all of us. Amen.
Hallelujah. Oh my God. Wouldn't that?
Mm-hmm.
I do. On people. So there's people in this world that can be quite selfish, and there's a reason why they're selfish. Like mine. Like it took me a long time to get this. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
If you had that freedom and not have to worry about that, I think eventually people's hearts would come out and be like, I got everything I need. I got it all. So let's help somebody else. This person is in need. Let's help them.
Right.
Like the few times you ever watch on television or news or anything like that, those beautiful, good stories, and how that makes you feel on the inside that you're like, oh, just regular everyday people did something really great for another human being. This lady walks to work every day in the wintertime, and the community gets together and buys her a beat up little car so she had a car. That's what this is what we're supposed to be doing. It's just people work so hard for their money. Money is such a huge thing for survival that you work so hard for it that it's hard to part with sometimes, because you work so hard for it, and you got bills to pay and all of that kind of stuff. And what if I need to have money, I need to to survive. They put so much emphasis on it that sometimes people can be a little self-centered and selfish, because it's they're like, hey, we got to keep a hold of it. I think if we didn't have to worry about that, people would be a lot more they could frickin' breathe. They can frickin' breathe. Like, oh.
The one thing I'm worried about a little bit, or concerned about, is I think, or from what I've read about other places, that we'll have to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
I can't talk about what you get.
Yeah, something like that. And I can understand why. I mean, you'd probably be murdered or something.
Well, and I think that's why, like at work, you don't talk about what money you're making to your other employees. If you're making more than them, or you know what I mean. Just it's what's the word I'm looking for?
Course.
Yeah, you want to keep the camaraderie.
Yeah.
People get a little bit out of shape that you've been here 5 weeks, and so I could see that. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be very difficult for people to do, to be like, how much did you get?
I don't know. Look at my 10 cars.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just, and maybe we all just need to get over all that kind of stuff too. Somebody's got more than I got. I didn't get enough, and we need to learn to just be grateful for what we get.
Everybody's going to get plenty. I think.
Yep. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I'm
Let me
gonna
show
be
you
just
this.
fine.
I want to show you this number here. Where is it? It's at the end. Here.
Here's a
Show you this
college
number.
working for Apple. Told me, Mom, I want to do something or something that matters and join the Army in February.
Well, this
Vermont.
says,
That's beautiful. Go ahead.
there's the number.
The good
How much money
what is
there
it?
is.
Quad Tor Decillion. Is that the number? That's how you say it? Quator Decillion.
I have
That's
no
how much
idea,
it is.
but yeah. It's 40 zeros.
That's insanity. That's insanity to me.
Yep.
How do you wrap your brain around that? I mean, how just take care of everybody. Like it's time, but we have to earn it. We've been asleep for so freaking long and have allowed
we do
this
have to
shit
earn it.
show to
Yep.
keep happening. I mean, we've allowed it to freaking happen, and you know, it's time to get off your asses and earn that place headed
Mm-hmm.
to the winner's circle. Like, you know, it's time. It's happening. I every day I'm like, I cannot believe this is what the hell's happening in our world right now.
I do too.
I can't believe this is really happening and how we've been asleep for so long. And now we're awake. You can't go back to sleep.
No way.
Yeah. Once
No
you're
way.
awake, it's like you can't unsee it.
I'm to the point where I don't understand people that are still unaware of what's going on.
Right? Can't wrap your
how
brain
you
around
can
it.
be unaware.
Yep. Just clueless. Completely clueless. And I mean, I watched a bit of CNN the other day just to see what it was about, and I thought, it's the same shit they've been talking about for the last 3 years. Like the narrative, it's like the same. It was just lulling. It was just creepy, and I was like, wow, I freaking see it. I freaking see it now, and yeah, I don't watch that crap. And
I think that those guys like Anderson and whoever else, sometimes I think they're CGI. I don't even think that they're really sitting there.
he was interviewing. When I watched it for a few minutes, it was Cooper interviewing Obama.
Oh.
And that's exactly what I felt about the whole thing. I thought, this doesn't even look real to me.
No,
it doesn't look real. It's like, is this shit for real? Like, it's like all computer. Like, come on. And they're just doing that narrative of, you know, them conservatives. We're bad.
Same thing with the whole G7 thing that I saw on TV. It was sort of like the inauguration. It was
bullshit.
It was all like computer generated looking to me.
Exactly.
I wish they would have glitched.
Now that you're aware of it, like, you can't unsee it. Like, that is exactly how you go in and you're analyzing all of it. And you can tell, like, you're watching me, you can tell I'm a real human being. Like,
yes,
screen, right. Like, I can tell you're a real human. Like, you can tell when it's real, and you can tell when it's not. Like Liberty Warrior, he has his screen thing behind him. You can see it when he moves. That he's not where, you know, what's behind him. He's not there. Me and Shepherd, you can see that she's got beautiful trees and stuff. That's not a painting. That's not a picture on her wall. She's actually there. You can see behind me. You can see it. And now it's just, I do. Every time I watch anything like that, it's just like, I'm watching. You silly bastards.
What gets me, though, is my husband will be sitting there and he'll be watching the same thing with me, and I'll say, oh, God, that's fake. And he says, no, it's not. What are you talking about? And I'll go up and I'll point around the shoulders, and he just will not have anything to do with it. He just is blind.
Oh, how?
I don't know. He said, I'll believe it when I see it. And I say, you're looking at it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. But sometimes in my life, sometimes I need a big neon light that says this is where you need to go, or, you know, I mean, sometimes I need the big neon light to get a clue. But yeah, now I get, and I've always
what I told him is
more information.
so Nesara's not real? And he says, no. Are you kidding? I'm like, okay, so when you get your money, I get your money then, right? And he goes, yeah, you can have it all. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Party at Shepherd's.
Yeah, come on over. James doesn't want any of it.
Yeah, and you know, and it makes me my concern is
agree.
for the
We should
people
just
that are
live our lives like we always have. Continue to
right.
do. I mean, I'm not going to hope. I'm not going to count on this. You know, when it
Right.
happens,
Right.
you'll be hearing me screaming with, happiness.
Right.
But
It'll
until
be a
then,
very joyful moment for sure.
I'm
But
happy
if
where
all
I'm.
the stuff comes out, the people that are so blinded, can you imagine getting all of that information all at one time?
No.
I couldn't imagine getting hit in the face with all the stuff all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what that's going to feel like for them. I kind of somebody who likes to be a little bit prepared, you know, for what's about to happen. Has already gone down.
Read
Hollywood being arrested.
Joyful Diamonds. Read Joyful Diamonds. You can.
It says a lot has already gone down. Example, Hollywood being arrested and many executed. The white hats haven't disclosed to world yet. Any day now for EVS. I
tend to agree.
Hollywood like don't even exist anymore.
Nope.
Like it just you don't hear about it, and even like all of it. All like people are waking up and pushing against all of it. And the second people started naming names of who was on that list, I mean, people were like, I ain't watching that bastard. I'm watching that guy anymore. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there were a lot of people that just went, yeah, I can't support that anymore. So
Yeah.
there's more going on. It's all that evil shit.
I just want to encourage everybody, if you would, to go.
Yes, please show the book so that people can get it if they need to.
Yeah, it's by David Robinson, and I'm also reading. I've read the whole thing on my channel. I think there's like 14 or 15 episodes.
And tell me about your
channel. A lot of detail about the world situation, about the white hats, about the what are they called? The White Dragon Society, and how they got the world to back up what's going on here too.
It's
and all
just
of the countries
amazing
that are involved, etc. So it's really an interesting book. It's a lot of information, and there's no way I can keep it all in my head. So
right. Tell them how to find you.
My channel is Shepherd of the Forest on YouTube, and I've read Nesara. I've read about the suppression of our American banking system, how it has been corrupt ever since the founding of our nation. And also right now I'm reading Bloodlines of the Illuminati, and I've already gone through the Astor family and the Bundy family and the Collins family. I just finished that one. Next I'll be starting on the DuPonts. Now the Bundy family just was a real shocker to me, because Ted Bundy is part of the Bundy family, if you know who that is, right? And so he was adopted into his family, and that was is a very common thing for them to do, is to have babies and then adopt them to other families to give them a different name. So Hitler
heard something about that.
Hitler was a Rothschild adopted out, and Bundy was adopted into the Bundy family, but I don't know what family he came from. So yeah, that happens a lot.
I mean, we could just go for days down this rabbit hole. It just keeps on going.
It's
oh
crazy.
My God. That's Jesus. One rabbit hole at a time. I can only take so much.
But anyway, that's where I'm at now.
God love you so much. We have had everybody on with us for an hour and a half now.
Thank you.
I love you to death. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about
you too.
Everybody for being here. And I'm sorry if I missed some of your statements. I was listening, and maybe I'm ADD. I don't know. I just like to. I appreciate everybody's discussion. Yeah, these are kind of great shows. I kind of enjoy this kind of stuff where we're learning something and people have,
Absolutely, me too.
yeah, that was brilliant. I so appreciate it. Thank you for reading the
Let's
book.
do it again sometime. And
Absolutely. We can make this shit a weekly thing. I don't care. As long as we're educating people and,
sounds fun.
we're all on the
Sounds like a
same
good
page.
thing to
And
do. Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Love one another. Make good choices. Be good people.